Hi, so in this video I am going to look at significant figures again. This is really part 2. This time I'm going to look at teeny tiny numbers and decimals, so things like 0.004. We're going to be looking at rounding them today instead, and generally these are a wee bit trickier. So the intention is to be able to round very large and very small numbers by the end of this video to whatever number of significant figures I give you. Usually 1, 2 or 3 is enough. Prior knowledge is that you should already be able to round to nearest 10, 100 and 1,000 and decimal places, and hopefully you've already watched the first video of the series, which is rounding the big numbers. So this is where I've got a little pencil mark, so if you're doing this as one of my pupils, this is a bit I would get you to copy down. So significant figures and decimals, different little rules to take in here. So zeros at the start of a decimal are not significant. So what this means is if I've got a number like 0.086, all right, these ones here are not significant, all right. The first significant figure would count, or doing my wee dot system on, would be the 8 and the 6. So that number there has got 2 significant figures at the moment, okay. So zeros at the beginning are not significant, but if I add zeros onto this, these ones are significant, and that changes that from being a 2 significant figure number to being a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 significant number. So that one now has 5 significant figures. Now you might be asking why on earth is that, so let me try and explain to you. The zeros at the beginning are just to try and keep the place value right, so it's keeping that 8 in the hundredths column. It's keeping that 6 in the thousandths column, okay? If we drop the zeros at the front and said, oh, this was 8 and 6, you've changed it from a teeny tiny number to 86. So the ones at the beginning are there to keep the place value. A bit like the zeros at the end of the number 7,000, that's to keep the 7 in the thousands column. So the zeros at the end, they do count, because have you ever gone to your calculator and typed in 5.00. Say you were doing a money question for £5. Have you ever typed in 5.00 and then pressed equals on your calculator? Because what that does is your calculator drops those zeros. And the reason they drop those zeros is because they don't need to be there. You know we can write £5 as just a £5 symbol, can't we? We don't need to write the .00. So that's the best explanation I can think for it is. So if you're putting zeros at the end of decimals, it is for a specific reason. Similarly, when you're doing other money questions and we ask you to write, you get an answer out in your calculator of 3.4, but you know it was a money question, so you put a pound sign and you put a wee zero on there. Now, the reason you put the zero on there is because it is important. It is significant in this question to add a zero, because we know rules of maths is money should have 2 decimal places. So the fact you add a zero is important. It is significant. So zeros at the end, if they are put there, you have to think, well, they're there for a reason, because they don't need to be there, okay? So that is why that is said to be significant and not. And hopefully that makes sense. Let's look at some examples. So I've got some numbers questions here, and we're going to first of all, again, before we ask you to round, I want you to be able to understand how many significant figures each of these numbers have. So the first one, let's have a wee look. So remember, zeros at the beginning don't, zeros at the end do. So this one doesn't have any zeros at all. So this has just got 1, 2 significant figures. Okay. The second one has got a 6 and a 5. That 0 at the end, think of that as your money question. That 0 shouldn't need to be there. That's just 6.5. So because they've put the 0 there, we count it. So that one has got 3 significant figures. On my next one, zeros at the front don't count. So the first significant figure in this number is the 6. Then the 9, then the 7 and the 2. So that has got 4 significant figures. Okay. On D, remember the ones at the front don't count. So the first one we count is the 6. That 0 counts because it's just trapped between a 6 and a 1. That could just as easily have been a 4 or a 3. So that one has got 3 significant figures. And then the last one, got a bit of everything going on. Zeros at the front don't count, so we count the 1. 0 at the end does count, because remember that wouldn't be there. Your calculator would knock that off. So that one has got 2 significant figures. Okay, hopefully you followed that. Let's have a look at some actual rounding examples again. So, 4 examples this time. We are going to round each of these numbers to 1 significant figure. And I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger. Now we know what we're doing. So to 1 significant figure, I'm going to do my dot business again. So, and I'm going to change my pen, I think, to a different colour as well for this one. So, my dots, 1 significant figure. There is my first significant figure, the 6. So I'm keeping the 6. The next number is a 5. What do you think that 5 will do in rounding? Will it keep it at 6 or will it go up? Yeah, rules of maths means a 5 or above means you go up. So this just goes to 7. Okay, to 1 significant figure, the answer is 7. I'm not going to write 7.0 because putting that 0 on would make that significant. Okay, my next one, 0.69741. The 0 at the front doesn't count. So the first one I'm going to put my dot at is the 6. The next number is a 9. 9 goes up. So there's your 6 going up to a 7 again. You have to keep the 0 at the front though to keep the place value. So that is 0.7. Next one, first significant figure we count is the 3. The next number is a 6. So that 3 is really going to go up to a 4. Keep all your zeros at the front for place value. And then my last one, none of these zeros at the front count. The first one is a 4. The next number is a 9, so that 4 is going to go up to a 5. So 0.1235. So that's them all rounded to 1 significant figure. While I remember, I'm going to stick in an extra wee one here, just to see. What if we had this number? I told you, all the ones with the 9s are the ones that really catch us out. So on this one, the first significant figure is the 9. The next number is a 9, so that's going to round up. So that 9 is going to round that one up, and then that's going to round up into that column and become what? What does 9 go up to? The next number 9 goes up to is really 10. So a 1 is going to go into that column there. So that gives us 0.01. So not the same amount of zeros at the beginning as it had originally. And that is because of the 9s, I'm afraid. Okay. Last couple, we're going to look at 2 significant figures then. So 2 significant figures for each of these numbers. 2 dots again, I'm keeping the 4, I'm keeping the 3. So it's going to be 4.3. Next number is a 7, so it's actually going to be 4.4. Do not put any zeros at the end. You don't have to. All right. Second one, you don't count that 0. You do count the 9 and the 3. A 4 won't do anything in rounding. So that gives you 0.93. The 0 at the front stays for place value. This one, 2 significant figures, is 3 then 8. A 3 won't do anything, so that stays as 0.2038. Okay, my last one. 2 significant figures. There's lots of 9s here, so this isn't going to be pretty. So we've got 1, 2. We're going to keep the 8 and the 9. The next number is a 9, so that's going to make that 9 go up. That 9 is going to make that 8 go up, so the 8 will go up to a 9. Another way to think of it though as well is, what is this number here that I've circled? It's 89. If you appreciate that 9 is going to make that go up, what does 89 go up to? It goes up to 90, doesn't it? So this would be 0.123, and then I put on 90. Now in a previous example, we didn't put that 0 in because we were doing 1 significant figure, but because we want 2 significant figures, if I had that just now, if I had that just now without that 0 on the end, that's only 1 significant figure, but the question clearly asks for 2, so we keep it as the 90 because remember, that 1 counts, so that's got 2 significant figures. Again, it's very unlikely they'll give you one with all these 9s in an exam, but just in case, all right? Now, I haven't done examples to 3 significant figures because it would just be an extension of what we've been doing, and by now I would like to think we're okay with it. So this is a point in the video where I would ask you to pause and then try some of these questions for yourself. So I've given you an example. So if I gave you the number 2.623 I want you to round it to 1, 2, and 3 significant figures. So to 1 decimal place, so 1 sig fig, sorry, that would become 3. To 2 sig fig, you would write 2.6, and to 3 sig fig, you would write 2.63. So pause the video, give these a try, unpause it, and you'll be able to check your answers on the next slide. Okay, and here are your answers. Hopefully you've got on okay with them. Thanks very much.